This is something he has ordained for us, for our good, for communion with him, and there's something very special that happens when we come to God in prayer. And he said as soon as we realized that we were rejecting this beautiful thing that he'd given us, this pill, so to speak, this lifeline, he said after we had that discussion, it seemed like prayer was a whole lot easier. That always stuck with me. How are you viewing prayer? Is prayer just an obligation, or is prayer your lifeline? If prayer is that pill that you need to take to stay alive, you're not going to forget to pray.
And to caveat with you talking about prayer being a lifeline, I can take us to close here with Hebrews talking about Jesus as our high priest, because this access we know to God is bridged by the high priestly intercession and ministry of Jesus on our behalf, who makes intercession for us, who is at the right hand of the Father, making intercession for us. And I know this passage specifically talks about being tempted with sin, but that access, though, regardless, is there because of Jesus' high priestly ministry. And that's for anything, for praise, adoration, supplication, intercession, asking for help in temptation, everything. That access is only there because of the ministry of Jesus. In Hebrews 4:14-16 says, "Since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us then, with confidence, draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need." Our time of need is every single day.
All the time.
It is all the time.
I mean, I feel like we could probably sit down and talk about all the different things you can pray for, should pray for. I would highly encourage getting a journal and putting a list in the back of your journal, because sometimes you just forget. Like, you'll go and you'll, start praying and there's just nothing that comes to your mind. So write it down. Have a list.
Yeah,
and it's really cool to go back after a couple years and look and see how things that maybe you prayed for 6 months or whatever, and nothing ever came of it. Well, 2 years down the road, you can look back and be like, wow, it might have taken God 18 months to work through that issue, but now he's done something great there, and I never would have thought that. And I actually forgot that I even prayed for that thing.
Yeah, it becomes a wonderful testimony to God's work.
Of God's faithfulness.
In our lives, yeah.
Our cat just rolled something underneath our door.
These cats. The thing that the journal helps me a lot with is I can ramble on one thing and not really get to all that I want to pray about in a succinct and timely manner. So that's where it helps me, is it helps me kind of rein it in. So I'm kind of on the other end of that one.
Well, and it doesn't have to be one method of prayer.
No, find what works for you.
Right. And like for us, like you always pray, we'll get in bed at night and you always pray right before we fall asleep. And that's one time we pray. We also pray with our kids before meals. Right. Oftentimes, like when I wake up in the morning, I always try and make the first thing I do, like it might just be like a little shotgun prayer in my head, but like, God, go before me today. Help me to do your work that you have set before me today. And I'll just kind of like maybe a sentence or two, like quick get a prayer out before I even like touch the ground. But then there are times when I'm actually doing my devotions, when I'll get my journal out and I'll be like taking notes from my Bible study, and then I'll like flip to the back. I'll get beside my bed on my knees and I'll actually like pray, like on my face or on my knees, and I'll actually pray through my list. Even for me, I don't have just one way of praying necessarily, and then if a friend asks you to pray, then you pray with your friend, or it can be many different forms of prayer, and depending on your situation, what your occupation is, or whatever. I mean,
driving to work.
Yeah, don't close your eyes.
Keep them open. But yeah, I pray often to or from work.
So get creative. Find ways that remind you. If it means putting little Post-it notes on your mirror when you're doing your makeup in the morning. Find time that is just wasted otherwise and redeem it. Yeah.
Look for the praises too. I think we're tempted throughout the day. We pray, God help me. But when there's those good things that happen throughout the day, thank God for all those too. Recognize all the praises too.
And in tragedies, we are not at all saying don't go to God in tragedy. We're saying that's exactly where you do go. You do go to God.
Saying yes there and everywhere.
And here's a parenting tip. Growing up, whenever something crazy would happen, my mom would always have all 5 of us like go to the couch and kneel before the couch, and we would all say a prayer for whatever was going on, whether it was someone was sick or, car accident happened or whatever. And she like instilled that into us. And I think that's really helpful. She didn't shield us from tragedy in the world. She said, this is what you do when tragedy does happen. You go to God and you pray.
Actually triggered my memory. Whenever we saw an ambulance or a fire truck or something, my mom would tell us pray for wherever that truck's going.
Exactly. So we were kind of scatterbrained.
A little scatterbrained. Sorry. We still hope that it was.
This is not something that we've mastered. So this was kind of a harder topic. Honestly, we talked about some pretty deep doctrines, but I feel like this was a harder one for us because it's something that is such a challenge.
Yeah, it is. It's so practical.
And like there's a proper doctrine of prayer, but then how that works itself out is a whole nother story. Yeah,
it's true. And it is. It's just a struggle. I think we all struggle with it. We all need to pray for each other.
And ask God, show me where I can become more diligent in this and get creative. Find creative ways.
Everyone's got the time.
Everyone does. We make time for everything.
Yeah.
For everything. How many hours in a day do you spend on Facebook or podcasting or watching television or whatever it is, putting makeup on. Like, I know I use that excuse, but however long your routine is every morning. I don't spend very much time putting makeup on your hair. I'm just saying.
It's like 5 minutes.
5 minutes. You could be praying that whole time you're blow drying your hair.
I am. I'm asking God that the hair comes out good.
But everyone does something. Brushing your teeth. Oh my goodness. I heard this. Someone said this, that every time they brush their teeth, they use those 2 minutes to just like rattle off some prayers to God.
That's awesome.
So every time they brush their teeth, that's what they're doing. They're praying. Because you can't talk anyway, so it's not like you can be communicating with anyone else around you. Right. So why not communicate with God? Seems like a really good idea, to just use that time. And actually, if you get into the habit of it, you might have really healthy teeth because you might be brushing for longer than 2 minutes. And something crazy going on. Might save you on the dental bills.
That's some good advice right there, babe. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate all the support. Again, please rate and review us. Hit us up on social media. Like our Facebook page. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And you can always email us awakeningreformation@gmail.com with any suggestions, comments, or complaints. We'll listen to those too. Thank you guys for listening. And until next time, get woke.
Are we weak and heavy laden, cumbered with a load of care? Brother, Jesus is our refuge. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Sins and griefs to bear. Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Oh, what a friend we have in the Son of Man. Oh, what a friend we have in the Son of Man. Are we weak and heavy laden? Comfort with a load of care. Brother, Jesus is our refuge. Take it to the Lord in prayer.